Hey, Clayton from Mombi, and we are going to sit down with Ricky Bassnett, who was a former WCT surfer. The guy absolutely rips. Now, it's really good to try and get into the mind of a WCT surfer and to try to unpick all his knowledge so that we can share it with you guys, the hows and the whys. And from a coaching perspective, it's always nice to get some validation on certain points, whether we're actually doing something right or wrong. So it's a really good conversation with a unique bloke who'll bring a smile to your face. Um, jump on in and see how you like it. Dude, this has been.
Hello.
I'm so happy to see you. I'm stoked.
Biggie, I'm gonna fucking dose you.
It's
You're gonna
like
get
Christmas.
sprayed. It's the only thing he listens to. The spray bottle.
What are you spraying with?
Water. I'm not a evil person and spraying with acid or something.
Nah, I thought
He's
maybe.
an animal. He's a shit animal, but I love him.
Yeah, but you love him.
Yeah.
Man,
What's happening? It's good to check
I
you.
can't stop smiling. How are you, bro?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah?
I just got back from a little surf in front of the house. It's like 2 foot and onshore. But fucking
I heard it's been a crap summer for you guys.
what's that?
I heard it's been a real crap summer for you guys.
No, like shit whole year. I swear to God, we haven't had a single wave. The whole of 2021 was disgusting.
Yeah?
And it seems to be carrying on that way for this month so far. So,
Yeah.
practice is.
Yeah. Well, normally my favorite time of the year was always autumn when you get the cool breezes and land breezes in the mornings, then things started to look a lot more promising. So yeah, fingers crossed it gets better soon.
Yeah, I've planned a little trip up to, I'm doing a series this year on like the marine protected areas of South Africa. And the first one we're doing is up near Cozy Bay. So it's like
Yep.
it's called Neck. And it's like fucking one of the most pristine pieces of KZN left. It's right up near the Mozambique border.
Yeah.
So we're going to go check it out and speak to some of the locals there and see what's happening. And
Is that kind of by like
yeah,
St. Lucia and all the
exactly. It's
around
just
there?
past St. Lucia and it's like 20 K's from the Mozambique border.
I heard there's some
And there's
secret
about
spots there that no one
four
wants
or
to know
five.
about.
I've been there like about 10 years ago. I went there with Ando and one or two other O's.
Yep.
But we fucking checked out some of the setups there, and I'm planning to go over spring tide, cyclone season,
Oh,
maybe some of that.
sounds amazing. I'd be pumped.
Yeah,
Hey, so the
yeah.
whole thing with Shell, mate, like, is that what kind of helped kick this off? Uh,
Yeah, shit,
I
man.
was following that. That's a big one. That was a big win.
Yeah, it was. It all happened so fast. It was bizarre. But I mean, I woke up the one morning and I seen a post that PDV Pierre de Villiers had put up on his story about what was going on, and no one had really seen anything yet or done anything. And I was just like, "Fuck this!" Like the trans guys where I spend so much time and just is honestly one of the most fucking real spiritual places, and I couldn't
So
just sit there. You know
to
what I mean?
people sort
And
of like in the world who don't know, you got to almost explain what trans guy is. Like you're talking to a South African living in Australia, but Aussies won't know what trans guy is. So like
yeah,
what it was is
I think
back in the apartheid days, it what South Africa almost
so.
gave the African people these small little homelands that they could have, but they were like rural and underdeveloped, and it actually turned out to be like a treasure now because it was
Yeah.
underdeveloped, and it's just got
See, a lot of the thing is that the Transkei is one of the like heavy rural areas in South Africa. But if you go and speak to any of the locals there and the community leaders and stuff like that, their wealth is their land. Do you know what I mean? That's where they like feel their true fucking belonging, and it's their treasure.
Yep.
And that's what they're trying to hold on to. And even though from the outside, a lot of people will say yes, but they staying rural and you're not helping them progress and whatever. Fucking that's what the O's they want. They want to keep their land. They want to keep their practices and how they fish for themselves and how they farm the land. And
Well, I mean,
hey, anything I can do to that is a win.
even here in Australia, like I've been here 9 years now. It's gone that fast, but like there's high rises popping up everywhere. Like before, there was these really cool houses in like Palmy and Eleanor and Burleigh Heads, and now it's like Queensland is all getting ripped down, and it's just like these 10-story buildings going up everywhere. There's just cranes and building, and it's nuts. Like it's kind of not what it used to be. So hang on to it, bro.
It's kind of in a way to comparison for Australians is what happened with the fight for the Bight scenario.
Yeah.
That kind of pristine land there. I think if just awareness can be raised and trying to hold on to the last bits of fucking the earth that are untouched, you know what I mean? We got to try.
For sure.
Try our best. Stop these giants.
But it is. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
Hey, I wrote down some couple little questions here.
Sweet.
All right, so I'm gonna fire a few of them off at you, okay? Because you're one of those like guys that always intrigue me. So, like, from a young kid, like I remember there was a post of you riding this red surfboard. I think you're busting this massive air. It was probably a Barron board at the time. Do you remember that?
The one that's in one out on the bottom.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm wondering, how was it that at a young kid that you knew so much about surfing? Because like I'm 48 or 48 in June, but I'm only starting to figure stuff that I know that you knew then because you're doing it. So like, did you just naturally like do stuff that worked for you? Did you have a role model? Did you mimic someone? Like, what the hell was it that...
I was thinking about this the other day to a friend of mine, and it was a weird time growing up because on the bluff here, it's like such a small little surf community, but we had Shane Warren, the Daniels brothers.
It was a solid crew of hard underground rippers.
Yeah, there was like this little crew of guys that just, we basically would sit together and watch fucking whatever brand new shit was coming out on VHS. You know what I mean? Back in those days.
Yeah.
And I'd go down to Daniel's house and we'd watch, and I'd just soak it in. I'd watch what anyone. I mean, back in those days, there was shit that Rat Boy and Flea Verosco and the Santa Cruz crew, and it was between that and then the San Clemente, like Wardo, Archie, Corey kind of vibe.
Yep.
Just watch videos all day and just study what they were doing. And then try and,
Can I stop you there quickly? When you say study, like I remember being out at New Pier, trying to bottom turn, like trying to do this wave and kind of having a hard time of it. And you took off on this wave and you just made it like a knife through butter, going twice as fast and throwing buckets more spray. And I was just like, okay, what the hell? Like, I get it now. But
so I think the older I get as well, the more I realize what I think that there's a big difference between trying, because when you're trying, you kind of in your head, you know what I mean?
You're overthinking.
Thinking about what you need to do. I think if you know what's going on in your head, the rest is just about going out and think about it all you can before you surf. Once you're out in the water, nothing.
Yeah.
No, there's no mind. You're in a pure state of flow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to me, if you're in a state of flow, you're not rushing. You're taking off and your fucking volume's turned up. and you're experiencing everything almost in slow-mo, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you've got time to see there's a section coming there, I'm going to do that. So it's, to me, it's more, in a way, if you slow down, you're almost going to speed up, if that
Yeah.
makes
It makes
sense.
total sense. So my question to you following on from that is that when did you figure that slowing down? And I'll tell you why I'm thinking this, Ricky. Um, when you use your body too much, you your first of all your style looks kind of crappy and you almost disconnect
Yeah,
from the wave. You end up surfing mid face and ahead of it. That's when you're trying too
yeah,
hard. But as soon as you slow
yeah,
down, you're almost using the wave face, gravity, and it's kind of like the wave starts talking to you and you start feeling it and you start understanding it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I never knew that about your surfing. I could see it, but I didn't understand how the hell you did that. So like, when did you figure that out? Because that's advanced surfing at a whole nother level.
I
It's
think I spent hours and hours and hours and hours. All I wanted to do when I was young is do airs. So in the beginning, I'd take off and you just fucking racing. You want to get to a section, yeah, and you through doing that, I realized that's not actually giving me the most fucking
not the best
speed
setup.
or connection with the wave. And I found that if I actually, I could still take off and see the section I wanted to get to and be at, but if I use the power points of that wave and not wasting them, I actually got to that section with more drive and more speed. So it's like a weird thing of, instead of trying to generate speed yourself, you let the wave generate the speed for you.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like I wasted thousands of waves. Do you know what I mean? Growing up,
Yep.
just wanting to try and progress and do something bigger. And
Yep.
in doing that, it taught me actually about needing to understand the fundamentals first before just trying to get out there and fucking rah, 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 rah.
Hey, you mentioned there that you had to kind of tap into the wave's power source or power. I call them kind of power zones.
Yeah, yeah.
When and how did you start looking for that, or was it something that you just became aware of because you surfed the bluff, which is like quite a heavy break? Um,
I think it's got to do with definitely the way the waves are on the bluff. It's short, chunky, and you almost got to drop straight down to come straight back up and fit in fucking two turns before the wave's over. You know,
yeah,
it's not really a point.
yeah,
Then transposing that by watching guys like Parker and Fanning and Dino in like 3 degrees. Those guys who grew up at Snapper, and Parker was one of those guys that fully just understood where to place your board for to generate speed. Is if you can generate speed with no effort,
yeah,
that's kind of the goal. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It was, yeah, a combo of learning that I had to be real tight in the waves here, and then watching other dudes and seeing how I can transpose that onto longer running walls and stuff.
So,
If that
like,
makes sense.
all right, it makes total sense to me. Have you not heard that saying, like, ah, you got to get speed to do anything? And
Yeah,
most people kind of, I just feel that they got that thing muddled up because your thing for speed is slow down, stay in the pocket, go top to bottom. Whereas
yeah,
most people that are struggling to surf well are all like, I'm going to move my body a hell of a lot. I'm going to look crappy and I'm going to surf out onto the shoulder and just push as hard as I can and stop.
yeah.
So it's kind of like, where did
It's all
surfing
about.
begin?
It's so much about weight transferring as well. Like I'd say to someone who wants to try to go fast, try two different ways. Try stand up and fucking race down the line and see how fast you can go,
Yep.
or try stand up, drop down, and get low and like use your. It's all about your knees, and the way you transferring that
And yeah,
weight. You're bending down, you right down low, you've gone straight down, whoa, like you're on a swing. See how much projection and speed you're going to get. And I think a lot of the time it does make your moves a lot more critical. So
get more boom.
as an intermediate guy, you're going to almost struggle in a way because you're going to have so much fucking speed off the bottom. You're not going to know how to come back and
What to do with it? Yeah,
off the fucking lip vibe. You know what I mean?
100%.
That's the true way to gather speed in surfing is that bottom fucking turn. I keep saying the most important turn in all of surfing is your bottom turn. If you don't have that right,
hey, so
go home.
do me a favor. Like this is going to go to like some of the audience and some of the people that I coach and stuff. But do you remember back in the days when you had just qualified for the CT, and I think I was training you? It was Gavin Roberts. And I think it was the third person that we were training. And I was just on you guys about bottom turns the whole time. It's like, get your nose to the beach, do a freaking bottom turn, like surf tighter, like put on rail. What was that like going through that whole period where I was kind of coaching?
You know, I learned a hell of a lot then as well. And I think one of the main things I tell people all the time as well, and something I learned from you, if you can master techniques in dribble, in like 1 foot surf, even riding, like I know you used to make us ride fucking like 7 O's in 2 foot surf. It teaches you how to flip and use your rail. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
If you can keep your speed and momentum in a 1 foot wave through bottom turns, you know what I mean? It's like that'll automatically transpose to bigger stuff.
Yeah.
And then using that longer board as well, it's all about just learning what's going to help me use that and engage that rail. Everyone surfs so flat so often. And if you can somehow keep your board moving and you fucking going along in a small, tiny wave, you're going to notice what we're talking about.
Exactly. They say only a surfer knows a feeling, but it's there's a whole nother level of almost being in that moment where it's just the world peels away and it's just you riding energy and you're just kind of feeling it, and it's awesome. Yeah.
You know, for me these days as well, I'm really starting to just enjoy the feeling of trim. And I've been riding the skimboard and
I wanted to say
longer
that.
board.
Yeah.
And it's like there's a feeling that I get from it that I've always been looking for. And you hardly even have to do a turn. If you can just tap into literally that feeling of those power pockets and just like flying.
Yeah, it feels good.
It's unbelievable. It's like it's a whole nother vibe. And it's also I spent so long trying to be like doing the best fucking move or the gnarliest shit and whatever.
Yeah.
That now getting older and just tapping into that more of the feeling, you know what I mean?
When I watch Tom Curran surf, I see that feeling. And it's almost like I want to surf like Tom Curran does. I want to take the lines that Tom like takes.
Yeah.
And when I try to mimic that on those boards, I never have a bad surf. There's almost
exactly.
There's no expectation of I've got to land in air. There's just like
it's flow. It's pure flow. That's the thing. It's like if you flow with the wave and you almost fit to what the wave wants to do, you'll find it's almost like you create a connection with that wave. You know what I mean?
Hey, I want to run an idea past you. It's like I don't know if you know Bruce Lee, but he said you got to kind of like be like water, you got to flow. So that was one explanation. But if you think of the way water's found, there's ice where water's frozen. There's the gas state where it's steam and the particles are moving around too much. And then there's flow. So if you think when you first started, a kid learns how to surf, they're all stiff and they don't know how to move. They're just trying to balance on this board, okay? And then they figure out how to move and they just, and that's like the gas state where they just trying to do stuff and airs, and it doesn't necessarily look nice, but they're getting stuff done. And then they get this understanding and they start to flow. And that's when
Yeah.
surfing just looks like, whoa, like Frankie Oberholzer has it. Um,
Yeah.
Dave Rustovich has it. People with flow
Yeah.
just stand out.
There's this, I think one kid who I've seen who understands it more than anyone else in the new generation is Ja Glindemann.
Mm.
Aussie,
The
my
full
God.
drop knee.
Edo has got it sorted. He
Yeah.
understands.
Yep.
Um,
So,
but yeah, the weird thing is that kind of philosophy is something that is absolutely like it's what I've brought into my like day-to-day life. You know what I mean?
yep.
I found that in life I went through that stage where I didn't know what was happening. I was stiff. Then I figured some shit out and I was fast. I wanted to go, 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 go. And now it's
Find that balance.
balance. Yeah, finding that routine and that the flow and the peace. And it's so weird for me because all I've ever grown up wanting to do is fucking go fast. You know what I mean? And interestingly, nowadays by completely slowing everything down and having no fucking goal, no anything, just living, in a lot of ways going faster than I ever have.
Yeah.
It's strange. Yeah.
Life
So
like that.
yeah.
No, I agree with you 100%. Hey, okay. So for me, you one of those surfers that naturally, like I've made you boards in the past, and I'm sure I made you a few shit boards, but you always came back and went, "That board was pretty good." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Come on, Rick, not
I
every
mean,
board was a good one."
it's actually been one of the worst riders because I never came back and gave like the best critiques. I
No,
think I
it's
wish
like,
just found in the board.
yeah. So like, it brings me to this question now. Um, I made you some high performance spine tech boards, and it was just a new technology that gives the boards a bit more flex and stuff like that. All right. But
Yeah.
I'm almost wondering, you've gone and surfed like foam boards, finless foam boards at J Bay. You're riding a skim board. You're riding like 20s, weird stuff. And there's almost a bit more of a challenge riding something
Yeah.
that's harder to surf. And because you've mastered how to read a wave, you've mastered how to get your body to work really well. If you jump to that high performance board, you'd be, oh, this is sick, and by 2 or 3 waves you'd be kind of a bit bored of it. But now that the
Yeah.
challenge is
Yeah.
to do something that's a bit more difficult to do, which is like
Mm-hmm.
single fins, twin fins, skim boards, foamies, and you seem to be having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, that's it really is over the last I mean I've since I was fucking 12 years old I've always wanted to just ride different. I wanted fishers growing up. I wanted anything I could try. I used to longboard growing up. Anything to give me a different feeling. Um, and obviously my time spent competing was 100% performance driven. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then after fucking going a bit lost for a while and not surfing for a while and blah blah blah, getting back into it nowadays is like I still ride standard shortboards for sure, but as you just said, after 3 waves, I'm bored as hell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know exactly what's going to happen. I know what's going to go down. It's boring,
The
but
funny thing, if you
it's
look at the rack behind me, my orange, I got a 20, my first board. I've got a 5'2" really wide fish. I've got a asymmetrical weird ass thing. The green board's a high performance one. I've
yeah,
got a small wave board. I've got a foamy. I've got an asymmetrical 6.0 and another foamy at the back. I got one regular board in my whole rack.
Yeah.
And I think I
Well,
know
you know
what
what the thing
to
is,
take for you.
I've always told people that if you want to improve your surfing, ride as many different crafts as you can. Like,
Yeah,
you would be amazed what riding a twin fin will do for your rail work. Because if you can master a 20, you're going to learn that you cannot surf it flat.
yes,
If you ride guns, get a 7.0, go just have it in your quiver and take it out on a 46-foot day. You're going to see what that does to your performance surfing, because you've been working on turning this big ass board and trying to maneuver that thing. You get back on a little board, you're like, whoa, 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 holy shit.
yeah,
So it's like nowadays though, the most challenge and the most fun is finless by like country mile. You know what I mean?
yeah,
The For me, like learning how to get barreled finless and take off on bigger waves finless, like steep drops. Fuck, when you do that, it's like
that's all
doing
right.
on a standard board. You know what I mean? That feeling of you just holding on and you're like, I cannot get off the bottom. You're on the verge of failure, like the
Yeah,
entire time. But you're
yeah.
going faster than you ever have, and it's just a jaw. And all I'm concerned about now is just what can I do that makes me have a jaw. You know what I mean?
So, a question for you then, even on that. I've been coaching some guys and I've been finding that as soon as you relax, you get control, even when you're out of control. But if you tense trying to
Yeah,
control that board, you just, you've lost it. Like if there's any tension in your body, it almost like it transfers into that board and that board does not respond. It's like it's stubborn as hell.
yeah, the ball's
As
gonna
soon as you
stop.
relax,
Yeah,
you can just start to flow and start to move.
you know, it's the same thing. It's like don't force it. If Feel what the board wants to do first.
Yep.
Is Does the board feel like it's wanting to slip out? Okay, stop pushing so hard. Let the board do the work. I think so many times people try
Yeah.
force the issue. You know what I mean?
So
Try and
I'll,
make the board do something.
the way that I explain to people is that you kind of want to surf the wave, you don't want to surf the board. 'Cause
Exactly.
a lot of people just want to
Exactly.
push the board up there and make the board go faster. But it's like, does the wave want you to do that right now? Like, why are you racing to the shoulder?
Yes.
So you kind of got to wait, and the wave will start talking to you. It'll go, okay, this moment there's a bit of draw, and okay, if it's
Mm-hmm.
steep, bang it. If it's really running, barrel. If it's fat, do a cutty. And as soon as you know what to anticipate through feeling, it
Yeah.
opens itself up to playfulness.
I'd say watch Geordie at J Bay to know how to surf
Oh,
how the wave wants to be surfed. That will pick the exact right times when to go fast. You'll see, okay, wave slowing down. I'm going to do a turn, fade back, get ready for a barrel. He's in sync with the wave because he's not fighting the wave. All
feeling it.
he's doing is connecting dots on the wave.
Okay, when you say
And
connect dots, so
watch how he doesn't go. He never tries to race or anything. He's literally he actually goes slow on those waves, but all he's doing is connecting those dots where the wave wants you to connect the dots.
what would you just pretend I was really, really dumb? What's a dot?
Depends on your level of surfing, but a dot basically, in terms of how Geordie would think about it, is where you're going to get your scores on a wave, right?
Yeah.
You racing down the line, you see a little lip start crumbling. Oh, there's a dot. I'm going to make sure I bottom turn in time to get myself up to that dot. So it's all about thinking where am I going to put my bottom turn to connect what the dot is up on the lip. That's kind of how I see it.
Can I tell you about my weird explanation? Maybe you might have heard this before, but basically water draws up on the wave. So
Yeah,
you can actually see the flat start to bend. And that's almost the part of the wave that if you were to body surf that wave, where the waves only pick you up and push you, or if you're
yeah,
finless,
right.
if you're going to pick your line, It's almost where it's just lifting. Because if you go too flat,
Yes.
you're going to slide out. So that bottom dot is almost as close to the foam as you could possibly go, where the waves got the most amount of lift to help almost pick you up or slingshot you to the top. And
Yeah.
then the top dot is where you're going to get your next bit of speed from.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so on a wave, the bottom dot's power, the top dot's speed. Now, the
Yeah.
tighter you can join those two dots by doing figure eights. In other words, the more toe edge rail, heel edge rail, with the less transition you do between your turns, the faster your board's going to go, the more smooth your surfing is going to look and feel, and the more
Yeah.
effortless it's going to be. And
Yeah, I think a great example of that, I always remember watching Aki at Snapper. And the way I've always said style is what you do between turns.
yeah,
And watch Dado is he never does anything between turns. It's flow, doof, down again, doof, down. Like there's no wobbles, there's nothing. He's just flowing up and down. And he gets at bottom, and he gets back on off the top, and it's just a cycle really of that, and it looks so nice.
So, Ricky, you said style. You've talked about flow. You've talked about like sort of Oki's back knee dropping, and so a lot of people when they surf, they almost look like we call them poo men or cowboys, where their knees point in two different directions, and they
Yeah,
almost surf a bit sideways. But when you surf, your knees face front on, and you look like you're more front on, and you've got way more
yeah,
peripheral vision. Another good example of someone like that is Ethan Ewing.
yes. Ethan is ridiculous.
Okay.
Study that guy if you want to learn technique. Study Ethan. My God.
He's my favorite surfer by far
Um,
at the
I
moment.
was I was saying this exact same thing to my wife the other day. I'm teaching her how to longboard at the moment. So it's all about like your top half is all about the twist, right?
Yep.
Or think about the bottom half of your body as your shock absorbers.
Yep.
To me, what looks the best is if you're crouching down, keep your top up. Just crouch down with your knees and drop down, but you're still facing up. Do you know what I mean? Don't bend over at your fucking waist.
Yeah.
Everything to do is your legs and the way you compress and rise up.
Yeah.
Don't worry about bending your fucking top. Your top's only about your
So
twist, which is
probably the
like
best
you've
way,
taught me is the most important.
probably the best way to explain is that riding a bicycle. The legs are pedaling, which means your knees are doing all the compressing and extending. You keep your
Yeah,
back straight, and the hands do all the turning. But most of the times, your
yeah,
hands are quiet. They aren't waving. They aren't patting the cat. They just
yeah,
it's like subtle adjustment. Oh,
yeah. Almost in a way, you could think about it like a trampoline. When you're jumping on a trampoline, you going down. You never bend over like that because you're going to fall forward, right?
yeah.
All the compression is taken up by your knees, and you're getting that bounce. That's the same kind of bounce you want off your bottom turn. Land, bounce, up.
Okay, so we're both on the same page here, right? At what age or like how the hell did you figure that out? Like honestly, I went to J Bay, I asked Taylor Knox, how do you bottom turn? How do you do this stuff? I was sitting there listening to Kelly Slater saying, join the dots. And like I was even making surfboards at the time. I was a surfboard shaper. I'd try to be a professional surfer. Like I didn't get it until like now I know it, but it's taken me 30 years, Rick. You kind of
I
have
think
that. You've got it.
at
What?
a young age, I feel like I grew up. The first videos I watched religiously were the search videos with
That's it.
Curran and Frankie.
And those guys are technically on.
So it's like when Curran's your hero and Frankie's your hero from your life. That's how what I based everything I do off. You know what I mean?
That makes
And
so
I
much.
think just by watching, that first wave of Curran at Jabo, and him surfing at Scotborough and shit like that. It's like just trying to emulate that. I think I got lucky having people that influenced me
Okay, so
in that.
think about our surfing heritage and the future of surfing going forward. You've got one kid, and you mentioned Jai. I think it's Jai Lindemann. He's got this.
Yes.
He's got flow, style. He's got everything. But then you got a world full of grommets who were trying to do what you're trying to do. We just race, 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 do the airs when you're kind of in that phase where you just want
Yeah.
to go fast and do the
Well,
biggest air possible.
and no disrespect to the who I'm going to mention, but having Italo and Medina and O's like that as world champions these days, I think has kind of
I feel it's ruined.
flipped the importance of fucking flicks and spins and shit over rail surfing.
Yeah,
So there's far less dudes doing real surfing these days, and there's far more O's that want to take off, race, and do a full rote. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's I don't know, change is inevitable, but I think there is quite a few O's that are realizing that flow surfing it
It
needs to come
trumps
back.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think it's a bit of a generational thing, but
You think it's going to be a fad that hopefully
it's
passes?
I think so. I do think so. I mean, I grew up hoping that A's would be, you know what I mean, like things that get the high scores and the only thing that matters.
Well, you guys, you're part of
Really,
that. You're part of that crew that was like pushing it, like the rotations, all that stuff. It was like it was new stuff. So you're in the foreground of that. So I totally get it. But you
yeah.
also put down some big calves. So you
You
had
see,
both.
it was a stage where the guys who are doing the biggest airs were also able to do the biggest, like Dane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dane epitomizes his
Drop.
airs aren't flicks at all. That fucking hits the lip so hard and boosts so hard. Like his airs are turns in a way.
Yeah.
There's such a difference between an air where you like bottom turn and hit the lip, or an air that you just race along and pop
Chop off.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I,
Geordie does big airs really well like that. Dane does it amazingly. Chipper, even though he's super technical, understands that the
yeah.
way you got to pop with the bottom turn. So I think just people have forgotten bottom turns. Fucking please bring them back.
Yeah. It's the most underrated part of surfing, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so Ricky, I'm just looking at you. You got this amazing photo, I mean, picture in your background. Is that one of your artworks? I know that you have been getting into art a lot lately.
Yeah, I paint all the time. This is a friend of ours, Papelo, from a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
I
I'd
discovered.
love you to send me a picture, bro. I've got a space for you on my wall right behind there. And it's filled
Hey, yeah,
right
you
up.
know, as I've got older as well, I've found, my passion for surfing got snuffed out after the tour and everything, and I ended up fucking hating surfing.
Yeah,
But now that I'm back in it, surfing isn't my be all and end all.
yeah,
It's one part of me that I need to stay centered and whatnot, but photography and art and just generally creating is where I get my it's like my anything I can do these days is like a meditation in a way
yeah.
where I, something that calms my mind and lets me switch off and just create is fucking fantastic. Like I'll pick up a camera, go into town and just spend hours walking around like completely in a zone and you're just looking for that next shot and there's nothing else going on. And it's the same as surfing. You're out there, you just waiting, just watching. Something's going to happen. So all the stuff I do these days is trying to
It's those
just
moments,
be in the moment.
correct?
Exactly.
And I think
Yeah.
if you're in the moment, you don't need anything. You just you're happy. It's
Yeah.
good. Life's good.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree with that any more.
Whatever you can do to fucking just stop that monkey mind. We all have it. We all have that voice that's just, it's a constant. It's always there.
Yeah.
And if you can learn to disassociate from that and take a step back and
And
not
actually
listen
learn how
to
to
it,
play again. I just think like, people forget how to play. Like life's almost too serious.
dude, absolutely. I say to people all the time, what were you doing when you were 12?
Play.
Go and do that again. Go do that. Life is a game. And it's not like what we consider a game. It's a game in that just play. You know what I mean? There's As soon as you stop feeling so much pressure that you have to perform, that you got to achieve, you'll fucking find peace.
Oh, I love it, dude. I love this new you. Honestly, I've been following you and watching you on Facebook and no, sorry, Facebook.
Oh god, I was such a write-off for so long. I've got to try and do something to put positivity back in the world.
Yeah, no, it's like you've had so much creative energy. I just didn't think you knew what to do with it.
Yeah,
You understand? Like I was,
it's very true. Like there was so much inside that I wanted to do so much, but I only had kind of one avenue, and I felt trapped. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I also was in a place where I was too. I always cared too much about what people thought, so I didn't want to put my creations out there and be vulnerable. And nowadays, I don't give a fuck. I just do what I want to do. And if you like it. If you don't, so what?
yeah.
Means
I
nothing.
think, for me, like honestly, I tried to be a pro surfer for 2 years. I wasn't good at it. I tried too hard, pushed too hard, made all those wrong mistakes. Then try to make surfboards, and I kind of found my passion. But I think inside of that whole coaching thing was boiling. I mean, now I don't sell boards to anyone except people that I know and people I like. And
Yeah,
it's so much nice creating something for a person that I know, as opposed to just making stock, because it's just that those
yeah.
are just
Creation without expectation is a fucking wonderful thing.
yeah,
And I'm sure you know it's difficult because as soon as you turn a passion into a profession, a lot of the time that can suck the joy out of it. And I think something I've learned as well is that a passion doesn't have to bring in money or fame or glory. Just let it be a passion for what it is. And if it really is something that you end up being the best at, all that shit's going to come anyway. But don't start doing it for that. It's
yeah.
like,
Don't lose sight of the first reason why you did it.
don't,
Yeah,
yeah, why are you doing it? Because you're having fun. Just hold on to that. That's like the main thing.
yeah, it's gold there. Um, yeah, so something like honestly, when I was young, when I became a pro surfer, I was, well, I'm a diabetic, so I was under the impression like, geez, I'm gonna be dead when I'm 27 because I'm a diabetic. Like I didn't know what was going to happen to me, so I always try to
Yeah,
like enjoy myself, so that if I did die tomorrow, I had a good day. Um,
yeah.
so I always enjoyed when I was in the factory making art on boards. Like I always got the most colorful boards. I mean, we used to spray some
Mm.
crazy boards for you, like carrots and corn and
My
all
parrot,
kinds.
my parrot was my favorite board.
Yeah. So I totally get it, and I couldn't agree with you with your sentiments and where your mindset's at the moment. So good on you, mate.
Thanks.
Stoked.
Shot. Yeah, it's nice to be in a. You're saying something about failure earlier as well, and when you come to a point of realizing that there is no such thing as failure, that's like a really big one to learn. I guarantee you that any failure you've had in your past,
Taught me
you've
so much.
A, learned from,
Yeah.
been a massive lesson, and B, has pushed you to where you are now. So
Mate,
it's
do you know how
like
much I failed
there's
in
no
terms of like I'd
yeah,
make you a board and you'd come back with Takora and go, hey, this one's going better than mine. So I'm like, oh, it's like a stab in the heart. Okay, I gotta make this
yeah,
better. And I'd make them for myself. I'd ride the Takora and I'd ride it, and make a board, and boom, I learned something. And I go, hey, Rick, try this one, and then you'd like it. So like,
Yeah.
I think it taught me like to fail, but to damn, I'm going to make a better one. I'm going to make a better one, and it did drive me. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah. It's if you just literally change your mindset and do a test, find something that you think you want to try, do it, and you're going to have failed because it's the first time you're doing it, right?
I'm going to go foil boarding sometime soon. I want to
Go
try.
fail. Like, do something and go fail, and you'll realize, fuck, it's fun learning. That's all it's about. Like when I fully started getting into art and photography and shit, I sucked. I look back on the stuff I used to do, and it's
Cringy.
embarrassing.
Yeah.
But all I've done is stuck with it, and the learning process of life is it's fun. It keeps you coming back for more.
Yeah. No.
So don't be scared. Go out and fail. It's kick.
Yeah. It's good. um. Okay. So I think we've covered this. It was one of the last things that I wrote down over here because of where you at, and what you've been through. I mean, you've walked a couple miles in your shoes. So when you started surfing, what was the attraction to surfing as a kid? Like, what was that thing where it was just all consuming? So it's a three-part question.
Sure. It's the same feeling that I've been talking about with the finless and the skimboards and the being. I don't want to sound like a fucking hippie, but it's being in touch with nature and being in tune. When you stand up on a wave and you feel nature, the whole of the fucking ocean pushing you. How do you describe it? You know what I mean? You just want all of that feeling.
Yeah.
But I've been thinking about it a hell of a lot, and obviously when you're a kid, you don't really have an understanding of it, but that feeling is presence because there's nothing else happening. You are in complete awareness and presence, and as a kid, you're getting a taste of that without even knowing it.
Yeah.
I think that's only a surfer knows the feeling.
Mindful
that feeling is
as a kid. You don't even know what you're doing, and it's just like you're there. Yeah, there's something there.
You're just there. Exactly. Yeah, that's the best way I could describe it.
This may be a hard question, but think about it. Right, on tour that second year, you wanted to quit surfing. So basically, you had a heightened level of understanding in surfing. Your body's trained; it's moving like it's never done before. Yet you're like, nah, screw this, I'm out. And it's not just you. It's like Bobby Martinez, Dane Reynolds. I could list off a whole bunch of names where is it the system? Like, what is it that's killing our great surfing? No, I'm out.
For me, the CT was like I had this expectation of what the CT was. You know what I mean? That's the goal. You get on that thing, you are sorted. You that's the be all and end all. Cruised through the QS, jumped on there. It had been a lifeguard. I mean, I qualified when I was 20 when I won the Mr. Price or whatever, and then
I was on the beach.
I was a kid. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I was a kid that was an alcoholic and on drugs. So besides that, it was a question of the CT in truth was everyone else's expectation. From 14 years old, I wanted to be a free surfer. That's all I wanted to do. I tried my hardest to be a free surfer, but it just wasn't there at that time, you know.
Yeah.
I think Frankie might have been doing it locally, but he wasn't getting paid. Like there just wasn't an avenue.
Yeah.
So doing something I was good at, but I didn't really have any part in, and then getting to the CT and realizing, Jesus, this is like an old boys club with a whole bunch of politics that I don't give a shit for.
Yeah.
Almost immediately just sucked it out. And then, like, I did pretty good the first year. I ended up coming like 23rd or something overall.
Yeah.
And the next year, I just didn't have it in me. I couldn't care at all. I didn't want to be there. I was going around to the most exotic locations in the world, and I'd just sit in my room and drink. And I wanted it to be gone. I hated being there. Hated it.
Mate,
But
that's
there's just
so deep.
there's the weight of expectation on you that you have to do something, but you don't. If you don't feel like doing that inside, then hey, nothing's gonna work.
Yeah. I was just saying, you just gave me goosebumps there. That was like, it's crazy, hey. So,
Yeah,
the last thing, and probably the last question I'll ask you, is just like, what's surfing for you now? Um, like for me, I mean, I've made boards. I've been involved in surfing all my life. I've tried to help people and coach them, and I get a real kick out of seeing the light come on. If I talk about a bottom chain, someone does, it's like boom, the light's on. I've always been attracted to like that that moment of awareness and understanding and presence where the light comes on for me. I've always chased
yeah,
that. I didn't realize it till now. So that's
yeah,
my motivation and my motivator. And when I didn't know how to do something, I'd always ask other people. But for you
yeah.
now, what's surfing for you?
You know, my God, I have no goals in surfing now at all.
Yeah, no
I surf
expectation.
because, yeah, like I still push myself. I still like I'm 36, but I feel I feel like I'm surfing better than I was 10 years ago.
Oh, for sure.
And the drive now comes from seeing guys like Bali Rudy, who's 61 years old and is out at the rock when it's 8 to 10 feet. Like to me, knowing that I can still attain that feeling in 30 years' time, possibly,
Yep.
that keeps me going. Like all I want to do is stay young through surfing. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not a stress in my life anymore that I have to be this dude that's doing this maneuver and achieving this whatever. I just want to fucking surf for as long as I can, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm the same. I can't explain it, but I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. That was epic.
Yeah, shot.
Bro, I've kept you here for an hour. It's been an awesome, awesome, awesome chat. We need to do this
Yeah,
more often. I really miss talking
yeah,
to you and hanging out and kind of those surfs together where you always motivate me and push me harder and you make stuff look easier and you always piss me off. But
yeah. I'm hopefully going to. My whole family is in Oz now, in Sydney.
yeah,
So hopefully, as soon as all this stupid bullshit dies down, can come over and
yeah,
have a
come
shred
back.
together.
Yeah, it'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to it.
Okay, sweet.
Rick, thanks, mate.
Yeah,
Just
dude.
big
Nice
love,
checking you.
love,
I'll give
love,
you a big hug if I could through the computer.
big hug.